Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Thank you guys for joining me here on a Friday to discuss the injury report for the Washington Commanders as they get ready for their matchup on Sunday versus the Los Angeles Chargers. It's going to be a big matchup here. The Commanders obviously coming off a really tough loss versus the Atlanta Falcons last week, trying to get a big bounce back win. There's some very important injury updates here for both the Commanders and the Chargers that I want to talk about today as we get ready for this Week 5 matchup. But before we get into the injury discussion today, make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We are the fastest growing Commanders channel anywhere on YouTube right now. We have the largest Commanders watch parties anywhere on YouTube as well. So if you want a place to come hang out during Commanders game days, we'll be going live this weekend on Sunday starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, about an hour before we kick things off in Los Angeles. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And with that, let's get into today's content, starting with the Commanders injury report. And really, we got most of the updates for this week's game before the official injury report just came out moments ago. We got them really yesterday when the team traveled to Los Angeles. They ended up practicing at the USC LA Coliseum today, which is a pretty cool venue to have practice at. But in terms of the guys that are going to be out, the guys that did not travel with the team on this trip, superstar wide receiver Terry McLaurin will be out this week yet again. Also, another another starter at wide receiver, Noah Brown, will also be out this week, and then Sam Cosmi, who has been a full participant in practice for most of the week. Of course, he's coming off that really bad knee injury that he suffered in the playoff game last year. He hasn't been really working with the team much during training camp or anything like that. He just got back. He will not be playing this week either. So obviously, missing quite a few starters on offense, even with Jaden Daniels returning this week. Deebo Samuel also had a little bit of a heel injury this week, but head coach Dan Quinn told the media moments ago that he will be good to go for Sunday. In fact, he's been named a starter for this game. Of course, if you didn't know, the Commanders rotate starters for every single game. So this week, Deebo is going to be an offensive captain. But of course, it'll be great to have Jaden Daniels back out there. He's going to be wearing a pretty big brace, kind of similar to what Mac Jones was wearing on Thursday Night Football. If you guys saw what he was wearing last night at SoFi for that Thursday Night Football matchup, Jaden's going to wear something pretty similar. It's going to be interesting to see what that kind of does to exactly how much Jaden Daniels can do with his legs, because a big part of his game is being able to get outside the pocket, make plays happen out of structure, and then also use his legs as a weapon. A big reason why this Commanders rushing attack has been one of the best in football ever since Jaden Daniels was drafted here is because of Jaden's ability to run with the football, pick up first downs in big moments, move the chains, and keep the offense moving. And if that's going to be limited in this football game, if he's not going to be able to affect the game with his legs as much as he usually is, obviously that's going to force him to win more from the pocket, which he can certainly do. He's definitely an above average mental processor for a player that is this early into his NFL career as his peers. But if he doesn't have that dynamic playmaking element to his game, especially with Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown, two of his starting wide receivers, out for this football game, it's definitely going to be interesting to see if he can pick up the slack with that in-structure playmaking and still be just as effective against a pretty darn good Chargers defense. All right, they've got Jesse Minter as their defensive coordinator there with the Chargers, and he runs a Mike McDonald style, kind of too high safety heavy, rotating coverage heavy, that kind of stuff. He's going to be throwing a lot of stuff at Jaden Daniels that he's going to have to mentally process. And, coming off of 2 straight games missed, he's going to be getting back into the swing of things here. It's going to be one of the more interesting storylines to watch on Sunday is whether or not Jaden Daniels and how can handle that kind of post-snap rotations and, how effective he's going to be within structure against this really difficult defense that Jesse Minter is going to be throwing at him here on Sunday. But obviously, it's looking like, Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown once again won't be out there, which means once again, Deebo Samuel, Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane, these guys are going to be asked to really carry the load offensively in terms of the wide receiver production. Zach Ertz is going to be asked to step up in a pretty big way this week as well. And, that does worry me a little bit because, we've seen over the course of the season, especially since Terry and Noah have been out, teams have been playing a lot of man coverage against the Washington Commanders. And we saw it in week 2, the last time Jaden Daniels played an NFL defense. It was against the Green Bay Packers. And even with Terry McLaurin out there, they were playing a lot of man, and there wasn't a whole lot of people getting open for Jaden Daniels to throw to. And, if you don't have the proper wide receiver depth and talent, teams can just sit in man coverage all day long, and there's nothing really that the quarterback can do. And you really have to rely on the run game. And, we've talked about pretty extensively this week in particular how encouraged I've been with the Commanders' run game. I think Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Jerry McNichols, and Chris Rodriguez Jr. Have been doing a phenomenal job. I think the run blocking, not only on the offensive line, but from the tight ends, have been really, really good to start this season. And frankly, it's been the identity of this Commanders' offense to open up this season. So I expect that to continue, especially because the Chargers do play a lot of too high safety stuff. So you're going to want to run the football effectively against this team in order to have success. So that's obviously going to be a big key to victory, but certainly missing 2 of your starting wide receivers for multiple weeks on end here, it's certainly a bit concerning for this football team. And if the Commanders get out to like an early deficit and in the second half you have to throw the football a lot, I don't think that that's going to be a situation that the Commanders are going to be able to necessarily dig themselves out of. So they might have to start a little bit faster. They can't rely on a fourth quarter comeback necessarily. In my opinion, without Terry, without Noah, you're going to have to play a pretty balanced football game offensively where you can run the football for all 4 quarters. And, I think that certainly, shortens the level of winnability for this football game for the Washington Commanders. And then Sam Cosmi has been out for the entire season to this point, and Andrew Wiley has actually played pretty well at right guard. So I'm honestly not too worried about Sam Cosmi not playing in this football game. I think Wiley is probably one of the better backup guards in the National Football League at this point. I think that he could be a full-time starter as a guard in the league. He's not as good at tackle because I don't think he has the athleticism to beat speed rushers around the edge anymore. He's getting older, but I think as a guard, he's more than capable of run blocking, pass protecting, doing all the things that you need to do as an interior lineman. So, Cosmi, it sounds like he's going to be back probably by next week when we play the Bears on Monday Night Football, which is phenomenal. But for this week, I'm pretty okay with him being out. To finish up today's show, let's talk about some of the injuries that the Chargers are going through here and how the Commanders get a little bit of an advantage here. Both of the starting Chargers offensive tackles will be out for this game. So Rashawn Slater is out for the season. He did that before the season even began. So he is just going to be out for every game this year. But then Joe Alt had an ankle sprain last week, and he will be out for this football game as well. And that was expected. He was pretty much doubtful all this week, but to have that confirmation that, the Chargers, I think the big strength on their offensive line is their tackle duo. And right now they don't have either one of them. And last week against the New York Giants, who obviously have a really good edge rusher group, they were able to get after Justin Herbert. They were able to put pressure on him. And, the Chargers offense only had 18 points last week. So I know that, last week they were in New York. This week they're at home. But I think that, with Dorrance Armstrong having as good of a season as he's had, Von Miller with his ability to rush the passer, all right, I think that, and then Frankie Louvu, you can put him out on the edge if you want, if you're Joe Witt Jr. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities, especially in the passing downs, second and long, third and medium, third and long, to get after Justin Herbert and, get after him all day long, make him uncomfortable, make him get the football out quickly, not throw the ball down the field. And then also Mekhi Becton, a right guard, their starting right guard, is still questionable with a concussion. So if he doesn't play, that means you're going to have another backup offensive lineman out there, most likely Jamari Salyer. And so if you have 2 backup tackles and a backup right guard, that's going to open up a lot of opportunities for the Washington Commanders pass rush to get home, get to Justin Herbert, make things hard on that offense all day long, not to mention stop the run game in Omarion Hampton as well. And yes, it will be Omarion Hampton because Najee Harris has a torn Achilles and he's out for the rest of the season as well. So even though the Commanders certainly have a little bit of a concern here, missing 2 of their starting wide receivers with Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown out for this football game. The Chargers have maybe even a more concerning unit here where they have at least 2, but potentially 3 starting offensive linemen out for this football game. So I think that, this is a very interesting matchup because I think the Commanders, honestly, on both sides of the football, have the advantage in the trenches, but I would also say on both sides of the ball, the Chargers have the advantage on the perimeter. So I think that this game is going to really be a test of what's more important in the NFL. Is it trench play or is it perimeter play? In my personal opinion, is that it's trench play. I think that if you can control the trenches on both sides of the ball, you're going to have control of that football game. And as long as you don't turn the football over too many times, as long as you can, do a decent job managing the clock, managing field position, you play a relatively clean football game, you're going to be able to come out with a win 9 out of 10 times, maybe even more than that. If you can, like I said, if you can control both sides of the line of scrimmage. And I think going into this week, the Commanders have every opportunity to do just that. So I still feel good about my original prediction. Yesterday, we put out our Week 5 preview for this matchup, and I predicted the Commanders to win. I still feel good about the Commanders' prospects to go into LA, get a big bounce-back victory after losing to Atlanta last week. I think that this could be a fantastic opportunity for the Washington Commanders to get a statement victory on the road against a team that many people consider to be a legitimate playoff. Some people even think a legit Super Bowl contender. Justin Herbert is one of the leaders in the MVP discussion right now. So to get a win on the road on Sunday would be absolutely massive, especially if Jaden Daniels can get the passing game going a little bit for this Washington Commanders team. But yeah, I'm not expecting like a shootout or anything like that. I think we're looking more towards a low 20s kind of game for both sides. And I think it's going to be close. It's going to be coming down to the fourth quarter. It's going to come down to who kind of plays better in those final 4 minutes of this football game, at least in my opinion. And as you guys know, if you've been watching the channel, there's no other quarterback in the NFL, maybe other than like Patrick Mahomes or Matthew Stafford right now, that I trust in the fourth quarter more than I trust than Jaden Daniels. I mean, he has delivered so many game-winning drives, so many big moments, and I know that he's going to be ready for that moment on Sunday when and if it presents itself. So that's going to be it for today's injury report video, guys. I hope you guys got some value out of it. We're going to have another video coming out tomorrow, and then, of course, we'll be live on Sunday starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, about an hour before kickoff in LA. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, go raise some hail.